again, a PVZ. And our Protoss player, Zhanhun, on the, let's say, 11 o'clock. This is difficult, the clocking on this particular map. And we've got our red US player on the right side of the map. The map is Dominator, sorry, Gladiator. I don't know why I thought about it, but yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah, for free, yeah. Yeah, so PVZ here. I hate the PVZ on this map.
Yeah, it's very hard for Protoss on this map. I feel like there's a lot of attack avenues for Zerg, and it's also a very strong defensive map for Zerg. So it just feels really, really hard to kill Zerg on this map because you have all these different high grounds all over the place, right?
Yeah, especially with the current like meta of PVZ. So Lurker Link and Swarm, and it's like crazy to defend. And on top of that, there's a lot of expansions on a map like this. This is a free-player map, and we have quite a few of those.
Yeah, quite a few expansions, and kind of like I was saying, right? You have to go through high ground pretty much to get through everywhere. And as you were saying, because Hive tech is such a strong part of the meta, this like Hive Lurker tech, right? And it just makes the high grounds even that much stronger for Zerg defensively. We're gonna see Hawk go for. He did this a lot in his matches against Dewalt and Bonyth. This is just kind of what he likes to do. He sends his drone out and kind of preemptively gets ready to take this third as his natural instead of his actual natural.
It was an overpull by Hawk, I believe, and in the same time, Zhanhun was preparing for a 12 Nexus, but when he saw that there was no hatchery, he moved and figured, okay, we need a forge immediately.
Yeah, Zhanhun looking to try and optimize a little bit there, just using the scouting information to correctly respond. So he's going to go for that 13-13 that you typically see against the overpull. So you're pretty happy as Protoss getting to do this as well. I mean, it's relatively even, but I favor this slightly for Protoss. Not a big deal, but it's good for them.
Now the question is if you'll be able to deny a little bit the timing for the next hatchery. And he's doing that.
Yeah, Zhanhun being very annoying here. Pretty good drill, actually, to get 3 of these lings and continue to buy time. Hawk going to be able to get that hatchery down. Zhanhun going to go into the main and see the gas timing. And just get some information on what the tech options are going to be here for Hawk.
Yeah, so now the question is, what will be the follow-up? Zhanhun needs to be very careful with the prop, because now, usually when you lose the initial prop, it's an auto trigger for a Hydra Bath.
Yeah, exactly. In this matchup, almost more so than any other matchup, I feel like scouting is extremely important for Protoss. If you lose that probe when you're in the dark, Zerg could be doing anything. They could have gone Lair, they could go Hydra, they could be massing Ling, and if you're not getting scouting information, it's so easy to get caught off guard.
Yeah, Zerg in PvP is the most flexible race, right? So the Zerg player can decide to do anything, starting from, like you said, the very fast Spire layer timing. We saw the Lurker bust. It can be an additional expansion or a Hydra bust. So everything is on the plate. And we see that Hawk is trying to deny the scouting. And he has even a drone on the ramp just to prevent the probe moving into his main.
Yeah, Zhanhun is insanely fast, by the way. This probe looks like it's never been looked away. We see Zhanhun hovering around 460 to 470 APM this whole time. So Zhanhun is insanely fast and doing such a good job of keeping this probe alive. And it just makes it a little bit annoying for Hawk because he can't comfortably do what he wants because he doesn't want Zhanhun to see everything he's doing like this.
Yeah, you're right. When you just said that, I looked at the IPM and I was like, that's crazy. After 2 games, my finger would be like, I don't know, sore at least.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Zhanhun poking out a little bit with the Zealot. Going to turn back around, seeing the Ling count. So Hawk making pretty much the appropriate amount of Lings. Not going to hurt him too much, not going to take any damage from that Zealot. At least we see the Stargate finishing up here right before 5 minutes, so pretty good Stargate timing. So everything looking pretty standard. I assume Hawk went into Lair. I wasn't really paying attention if we checked or not, but at this point it has to be Lair, yeah.
Halfway down, the Spire's halfway down, and we see a Zergling speed, so the probe will die. It needs to die. Oh, it's alive. Oh my god.
Yeah, finally that scouting probe made it all the way to 520. That is
Yeah.
pretty good from Zhanhun, considering Hawk was on that probe the entire time. And yeah, like you said, it's not till speed finishes was he finally able to clean that probe up. We got the Corsair going to come across the map, going to go straight across and just identify what the tech is from Hawk, kind of what the game state is, and react accordingly.
Yeah, so nothing out of the ordinary, even though there was a perfect execution with the like prop dance and link chase, but the pressure down, perfect standard game, going to Spire, 5 hatch, probably a 6 coming in soon. And let's see, will this be Muta or Hydra?
Yeah,
and as we
because
said,
we're still
right?
on that.
I just wanted to follow up. I said at the beginning, like a moment ago, that okay, Zerk is the most flexible player. Even at this point of the game, Zerk can decide that to go either Mutas or Hydras or anything else. The Protoss player needs to do Zealots and Corsairs. There's no other option. Okay, he can decide not to go for Corsairs too much, but still, it's not that flexible. The Protoss player isn't that flexible.
Yeah, you know, I was gonna say that Hawk was going for just Scourge, but then he started the +1 armor for air, and the second gas was late, so that's why I thought he was only gonna go Scourge into Hydra. But with the +1 air starting, it makes me think he might actually be committing to Muto later.
Might be the case. We saw in the last best of 3 how Muta switches in the mid game work, so yeah, that's always an option.
Yeah, +1 air ranged attacks. Did we cancel the +1 armor as Hawk? Okay, no, we didn't cancel it, so he's going to commit to that as well. Interesting. So we're going to see what he wants to do with this. I guess it's purely going to be for Templar sniping. I feel like it. There's no way he's going to try to Muto bomb at this point. It's too late.
But still, he made a lot of Scourge.
Yeah. He's making more Scourge, yeah. I mean, this might just be for mass Scourge, just for handling the Corsair. This is a ton of Scourge, wow.
Oh, and we see the move out with +1 from Zhanhun.
Yeah, we're going to get that potential +1 Zealot +1 air push from Zhanhun. He might get caught off guard, like really off guard by the amount of +1 armor Scourge he's going to run into. Hawk even tucking the Scourge into his main base to make sure they're staying hidden and going to try and show, like, oh, you know, I've only got a couple Scourge here. Like, this is completely normal.
But he sees the Muta, and this is perfect.
Yeah, seeing that Muta hatch at that timing is pretty much everything Zhanhun needed to know, actually.
I think both players are waiting for the upgrades to complete, right? Zhanhun for the +1 for air weapons, and Hawk for +1 for Carapace for his Mutas and Scourge.
Yeah, it seems like Zhanhun was able to snip this out pretty early, too. He's about to have 8 Corsair with this +1, so he's going to have a very strong Corsair force here against all these Muta Scourge.
It's like 2.5 group of almost 3 group of Scourges.
Yeah, this really surprised me. I thought with the +1 ground, I guess it's just for if Hawk gets a really good trade on this, he'll just swap into the Hydra right now or already have those upgrades. I guess I completely misread this. I thought Hawk was not going for Muta Bomb, but he is in fact going for a pretty heavy Muta Corsair. Are we going to go into the main? Surely not, right? That seems like it'd be a terrible idea at this point.
Let's see.
Yeah, just poking around, sees the one cannon up front, but I think he missed this move out, so he's going to get caught off guard completely by these Zealots and Archons appearing across the map. And now he sees and he's bringing his forces back. He does have 2 Sunkens here at his third base and a couple Hydra, but yeah, he's bringing everything back. He knows that he doesn't really have enough to defend this very efficiently. And we'll see what kind of damage Zhanhun can get done here. Gonna get on top of these Sunkens right away. Oh man, big Archon shots too to soften these Mutas up. And yeah, 5 Scourge left, or 5 Corsair left over. The Zealots being uncontested here, kind of ravaging the space. We still have a lot of Corsair actually left over to kind of finish off these softened Mutas. Hawk can't really engage this with his Muta, and he knows that. He's going to turn around and try to fight it a little bit. And actually, I'm wrong. He's going to be able to clean this up just barely with all these Mutas, but the Zealot's getting a lot of Hydra kills. But all in all, actually, Hawk defending much better than I initially thought he would.
Yeah, it looked really terrible at one point, but now we see that, okay, he didn't lose too many drones, and he managed to defend his expansion. But in the same time, we see Zhanhun taking another expansion.
Yeah. Yeah, if Zhanhun gets this third up uncontested, he's actually going to be feeling pretty good. He has a pretty good probe count. He did get a few drone kills, and it did stop Hawk's growth a little bit. But yeah, Zhanhun being able to take a third base around 10 minutes is that's fantastic for Protoss. You typically don't get it that early.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that we can still see Cursor production and the Arkham. No Storms, no High Templars that are aggregating the mana for the Storms. So in case of a Hydra transition, what we can see here is happening. It might be very difficult for Johnson, but now he's still buying some time and trying to defend against those Cursors.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised Zhanhun continued to go into Corsair. And like you said, it does get a little bit dangerous when you skip Templar for too long like this, because with a big Hydra swell, Zhanhun just won't have enough storms to be able to fight it off if he does get counter pushed here.
Yeah. Oh, and we'll see probably a denial on the expansion. Oh, no.
Yeah, Zhanhun, he made a quick decision to go after those Hydras, but I think it was actually the wrong call. He could have finished that Hydra and maybe back for that Hydra and then backed out, but he saw those Hydras and he thought he could, quickly pounce on it and take the fight, but instead he's going to end up getting nothing and have to go back home.
Yeah, I think he just doesn't want to commit too much because he doesn't have the amount of High Templars still at this point in the game. So he needs to buy time, and sacrificing his army for a denied expansion might result in a similar situation that Dewalt was in the earlier game, in second game, right? One backstab, one counterattack, and
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you. I think backing off, definitely 100% the correct call there. Can't afford to lose the army. We do have a bunch of lurkers coming out for Hawk now, but Hawk being able to get this fourth up does feel good for me. Zhanhun's economy is still very strong, but as we get later and later into this game, kind of as we were talking about it, it gets extremely hard for Protoss to kill Zerg.
Yes. Now the question is, are there ops in play? I don't see a robo anywhere.
Wow, we don't even have a robo started, yeah. That's really surprising. It feels like a mistake from Zhanhun. He must have forgotten, right? Because we've been on Mutatech for a while. We knew the Hydras were out, but yeah, big fight going to break out here. Lots of Zealots here on the left to fight against these Hydras. These Lurkers a little bit away from this fight, but these Hydras going to trade pretty well against these Zealots initially. But Zhanhun just has so many units, he's going to be able to push through this even without the Observer, without, very much Storm. Just pure macro, like just tons and tons of units being able to force his way through this army.
Lurkers? Well, I don't need Observers. I can just counterattack.
Yeah, just stay away from them, guys. It's that easy. Yeah, so he's going to get down here and deny this base. And this starts looking pretty bad for Hawk. Going to push into this natural. Looks like we weren't looking, so he had a pretty big storm and lost a lot of Hydras. And with that fourth base going down, and even our third base potentially getting more damage done to us here, we see a big supply lead for Zhanhun now. And it's starting to look kind of tough for Hawk. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to say that I fully agree with you, especially that there were no lurkers in the third base of the Zerg player.
Yeah, Zhanhun doing such a good job of getting value with this army. He's playing with so little Storm, but constantly getting good trades regardless of that. And you typically don't see that often in this matchup.
Oh, and that was a mistake. Yeah, I think that Hawk isn't aware of the second expansion of the Protoss of Zhanhun. I think he doesn't know about it.
He might not, yeah. He does have, I think, an Overlord nearby, but I'm not sure that it's actually spotting that pylon wall.
Might think that he's in a good situation because he has his opponent contained. He has a decent army, and he still has an amount overall okay amount of expansion in comparison to what he thinks Protoss is on.
Yeah, you might be right. But he might be misreading the situation just a little bit. We are at that 15-minute mark, so if Protoss was on 2 base, then Hawk would be feeling fantastic right now. So if he doesn't know about the third base, then he could be misreading the situation. But either way, he's going to try and do this contain. Zhanhun going to try and bust out with all these goons and Storm. And looks like we're going to be able to push this Lurker line back quite a bit. And yeah, there's a lot of units pouring out of this natural. And he is going to be able to break this position, while Hawk has a lot of units back at home dealing with this counterattack that's been out here for several minutes now. It's been very annoying for Hawk.
Yeah, I wanted to say that I was really surprised with how long did that army stay alive.
Yeah, it's been very good by Zhanhun. Another huge storm, getting tons of damage on these Hydras and softening up that Lurker. Zhanhun going to clean up this push here. And you just see it, right? The economy kicking in. Hawk going to GG. Zhanhun going to take game 1.
Game 1 for Zhanhun. And, you know, as we said at the beginning, probably it's a difficult map for the Protoss player, but Zhanhun made a big attack, especially you know when he attacked the second expansion of Hulk. I really thought, and Hulk miraculously defended it. At that point I was like, okay, this might be soon the GG timing.
Yeah. Yeah, Zhanhun he just did a really good job of constantly pressuring Hawk and not letting him breathe or feel comfortable this whole game.
Yeah, I really am curious if Hawk was aware of the second expansion of Zhanhun. I think not, and that was like you said, right? The misconception and that Hawk did, because he felt okay with only containing, thinking probably that they're on the same amount of expansions.
Yeah. It was a tough situation either way, because even if he knew about that base, it's so hard to break it at that point, right? Because Zhanhun just had so many units and the cannons on the high ground, so it was just kind of a lose-lose situation for Hawk. But looks like our players are ready, so we're going to jump into game 2 here.
Game number 2. Okay, Zhanhun versus Hulk. Hulk, bottom left side of the map, our red Zerg player. And we've got also Zhanhun on the top left side of the map, yellow Protoss. So, Polestar is the map. What do you think about PvZ, ZVP, and Polestar, Azzy?
I don't know, really. I haven't seen much of it on this map. You know, I'm a Terran player, so I haven't experienced it firsthand yet either, so it's kind of hard for me to say, but if I were to think about it and look at it, like, I feel like because there's a lot of different attack avenues, I want to say that it's good for Zerg, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think it's good for Zerg. I didn't play too much for on it, right? But looking at the second and third expansion pattern, right? So we've got those kind of narrow corridors, perfect for storming Zerg units. So that might be an upside. I think still it's better for Protoss in comparison to the last map.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that sentiment. I definitely would say it favors Protoss more so than the last map for sure. Gonna get that gate expand from Zhanhun, so we might get some early Zealot pressure this time instead of the faster Nexus.
It's mixing up, and I think Hulk is going for a hatchery first, so that might be a little bit challenging.
It can be challenging for sure, but at the same time, if Hawk is able to get away with this, because the main thing you're like really worried about is the cannon rushes, right? So if he can get away with this without taking damage from these early Zealots, he can be very, very happy with this opener. But there is a lot of Zealot pressure that comes out, right? It can be kind of annoying for Zerg to handle.
Yeah. It's the perfect response from Hulk. So we've got the 12 hatch 11 spawn. So usually what it means that Zerg has the amount of Zerglings required to deny the initial Zealot, and taking into consideration the fact that he'll have an additional hatchery, so more larvae means more Zerglings. It might be very, very difficult for Zhanhun, especially that we see that Hawk is taking his gas quite early and only just started to move his drone to take an additional expansion.
Yeah, a little bit early of a gas for sure, like you said. It's nice for Hawk that he gets to scout this gateway as early as he did as well, so he knows very early what he's going to be dealing with. So like going to be showing up in his base, this probe being kind of annoying, interrupting the mining, maybe softening the drones up a little bit for the Zealot to get here, and it's going to come down to, can Hawk avoid taking any real damage from this? He's going to have to make a bunch of lings, which already eats into the drone count a little bit, but nice to be able to kind of buy time there. Yeah.
Okay. No drones. lost, but still the mining time denied, and still no hatchery from no kind of additional expansion from Hulk.
Yeah, the third base is going to get delayed because of this pressure, but so far Hawk not taking any real damage. You're going to have to make a lot of lings and clear this out. You know, it's pretty annoying these two Zealots getting behind the mineral line with a probe can be very, very efficient against these lings. And how well are these Zealots going to trade is part of the question here. Taking a lot of damage before he gets in a proper position, but yeah, now we're on single file, so he's trading really well.
Yeah, but look at the fact that Zhanhun has already his expansion up, and still no third hatchery for Hawk.
Yeah. Yeah, Zhanhun getting pretty decent value, and I mean, Hawk's had to make so many lings at this point. You know, there's another two Zealots out on the map. Is going to see those turn around at least, so Hawk can finally start droning and maybe start that third hatchery. And yeah, there it goes down just now.
But it's a significant deny of time, and we see
Speed is
the
gone.
Zergling speed. So, but the wall is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So
as expected.
as expected, right? And so those speedlings won't do too much. And no layer, limited amount of drones, and the cyber core of Zhanhun is halfway done. I'm wondering if Hawk isn't pushed into some kind of Hydra play.
Yeah, that's what I was starting to think, right? With this layer being so late, we've actually taken off of gas except for just one drone, so he's definitely just going to be focusing on getting his economy back online, so I suspect we will see a Hydra then, like you're saying, because the layer is so delayed at this point. It doesn't feel like going Meta is really an option. At least not now.
One drone, okay, so maybe we'll see some kind of 4 or 5 hatch play before even then and layer.
Yeah, he might just be really greedy, right? He knows that he had a lot of lanes left over after that initial push. He did see that Zhanhun made was like another 3 or 4 Zealots. But he's scouting around the map, making sure there's nothing like crazy or weird going on. And then he's just going to reassemble here at the front of Zhanhun's base. And I think he's just planning on just drone, right? Until Zhanhun does something.
Yeah, it looks so. So it can work perfectly, right? He can end up with a significant amount of drones, a lot of Hydras, so everything can happen here. And we need to also remember that Zhanhun isn't able to scout still, right? So he doesn't know if this is 973, and Hydras are coming. Still doesn't know. And there is still some time before the Zealot speed when he will be able to move out.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Hawk's going to go for just a 5-hatch or a 6-hatch here. We'll see when he starts Hydras. Hydras have started now. This could be just kind of the anti-Corsair Hydras for now. We'll see how heavily he wants to come into Hydra. There's the Evo chamber on the way. And yeah, we'll see. If he wants to keep droning behind these initial Hydras, then that'll tell me if he wants the 6-hatch or not.
And look at the scouting pattern of the initial Corsair, right? He looks for those Hydras coming in for bust, but nothing happened. Nothing was there. But we see an additional cannon. Okay.
Yeah, I was wondering if he would cancel that cannon, actually. Because like you said, it's very important for Protoss players to do this. When that Corsair comes out, you kind of want to go straight down the attack path of the Zerg to see if there's Hydras on the way or not, so you can react quickly. That's why you see Protosses do that instead of flying straight to the main base, right? They always come out and then fly towards, I guess, the attack path of the Zerg. But we're making a lot of Hydra here now, so... And even some Lings, actually, because we got a little bit low on gas. So yeah, I think we're just going to see 5-hatch Hydra here for a little while.
And I'm surprised that we don't see additional gateways from Zhanhun. Well, just now added 2 additional ones. I saw Templar's Archive is on the way, so probably he will decide to go with a slightly more defensive option, just to put out the storms to deal with those Hydras.
Yeah. I love this call from Zhanhun to turn back around. He sees the drone count and knows that there must be a lot of units out. And I think that's 100% the correct call. If he had committed, that Zealot army without the +1 would have got absolutely eaten alive by all these Ling Hydra, and he could have just died to the counter push. So very good awareness from Zhanhun to realize, hey, maybe I shouldn't commit to this push.
You're totally right, and we see the decision of Zhanhun to make those kind of additional cannons up in front of his entrance to the base. Probably we'll see a round of High Templars in a moment, but the question is, will the High Templars and the Storm upgrade be in time before the push will come in?
Yeah, it looks like Hawk went back to, we made the lair and we went back to droning after that. So that feels kind of bad. It seemed like Hawk was banking pretty heavily on catching this Zealot army out on the field. And then I think he thought I could see it, right? Like he got all excited, his units got in position. He's like, all right, he's coming. I can win the game here. And then Zhanhun turns it back around and Hawk's like, man, I just made all these units. Now what?
Yeah. Okay. Both players are taking a moment to build additional gateways or drones or hatcheries, and Zhanhun is going up to 9 gates, so I think it's a perfect response to what Hawk is doing, because any other response might be death for our Zerg player, Protoss player.
Yeah,
okay.
A lot of Zealots getting here into the 6 o'clock base. Gonna turn back around with most of them, just leave a couple to be annoying and kill some of these drones, but a bunch of Hydra's gonna hatch here at least, so Hawk should be able to push this back without taking much more damage than that. But the Zealot's going to trade pretty well against these Hydras. They do have that uphill advantage against a lot of these, so a lot of missed shots help them survive a lot longer than they would normally.
Yeah, then we see the Robo coming in, 9 gates. And I think Zhanhun is preparing yet again to take an expansion. Or no, those were just Zealots waiting there. Thought it was a probe and was like, what's going on? I'm really surprised that Hawk is not trying to micro here, right? I played once or twice against him. I think his micro is amazing, and here we saw a couple of engagements where those Hydras were just standing and waiting.
Yeah, we saw that the last game a little bit too, right? The big storms that I was eating. I was the same way when I was a Protoss player before and I played against him. I was like, man, you never stood still on my storms. Why are you doing it against these guys? Like, yeah, I agree 100%. His micro can be a lot better than what he's shown here today. But maybe just feeling the pressure of Zhanhun, right? It's a scary guy to be going up against.
Yeah. Oh, I just finally, I wanted to say that Zhanhun is permanently scouting with that Corsair.
Yeah.
Right? Going rounds around the base, just checking if there's nothing fishy going on, if there's fire coming in or something like that. And just about at the same time, it dies.
Yeah. Okay. You guys were caster cursing a lot earlier. I guess it's going to continue through this series.
Yeah. That's the beauty of casting. Okay. Oh, we see the lurkers, but from what I remember, Zhanhun has already. Yeah, the observer is there. So because I saw that where he started the robo. So it's a perfect timing. Both players are expanding in the same time, more or less.
Yeah.
So looks like guys are taking it a little bit slow.
Yeah, it's much more normal expansion pattern from Zhanhun this time, right? It's closer to 11 minutes, and it was after the observer was out, right? So much more of a kind of a standard expansion.
Lesson learned from last game, right? Okay, ops need to be a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I can imagine like feeling a little bit of that where you kind of got away with it, you know, like a bunch of lurkers were out in your face, like they were at your front. You hadn't even started your robo yet, right? So kind of dodged a little bit of a bullet there that last game. They're gonna push near. He's gonna look to try and trade a bunch of the Stormend goons for a bunch of the army from Hawk here. Hawk's setting up a really big flank though while this is happening.
Oh.
And Zhanhun caught slightly off guard initially, but yeah, huge storm's gonna eat up this Hydra front line. Gonna clean this up, and this flank not working out well for Hawk at all. The second part of it also a little bit late behind this. Is gonna start to push it back now as the storms are running out. I think we have one more storm, maybe a second one, but yeah, Hawk gonna push through that, pick off these High Templar. But overall, I'd say a pretty good trade for Zhanhun.
Yeah, overall, I think, yeah. Especially that I think the current, let's say, meta of engaging their player at with this kind of composition is like go skirmish a little bit, move with the goons, drop 5 storms, move back, because energy for storms will regenerate, right? But the unit will die.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right about that. That's what I like to see from Protoss players is this kind of mid-game, this little death ball move out, right, where you move out with a bunch of goons and storms, trade out the energy, and as your energy's running out, you leave. Because I've seen it quite often. I harp about this, and I talk about this quite often with like, especially like kind of mid B, low A Protoss players. A lot of times you see them committing to a push, and it's always like, hey, this fight's going really well because my storms are doing so much damage. And then they run out of storms and they keep going, and then the reinforcements suddenly swallow their army up, right? So
Exactly.
really good to see Protoss understand that he needs to pull back when his storms are starting to run out.
Again,
A huge storm.
yeah. But again, not too many dodges to storms. Pretty nice. Zerg units are everywhere.
Like everywhere, yeah. Hawk's kind of attacking from all over the place. He's coming out of Zhanhun's own natural, even with Hydras at this point. And actually closing the gap on supply quite a bit. Yeah, another huge storm eating up the rest of these Hydras, and Hawk gonna fall back now. But I'm surprised the supply got closer there because it felt like Hawk did not fight well.
Yeah, I fully agree. It looked like the engagement is going better for Zhanhun, but the limit is very, very close. Like, it's 105 to 114.
Yeah.
Like, really good. But in the same time, Zhanhun decided to take the 12 o'clock. So he can take some time, he can defend, he can take worse engagements, but if he'll manage to take that additional expansion, it will just scale up and he will overpower the next player. But that's a nice catch. Nice push. He pushed the Protoss player from this ramp. Now he can engage and attack from the top. Oh my god.
Being a nice Templar snipe there too. Actually pushing into the natural a little bit, which is kind of crazy. He doesn't know about this 12 o'clock base, so he didn't move to denied after he won that fight. He is up a few drones, which feels pretty good as Zerg. We're going to have a bunch of Zealots, it looks like, come out of the field and possibly go for that 4th base.
But if Hawk is wanting to keep that, he needs to keep this position, and it's an amazing position for the Zerg player. He needs to reinforce as fast as he can, because it's a perfect contain, even though there are additional expansions on the map.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. If he can contain it there, then there's no army that can reinforce defending those positions, right?
Okay,
but
now we see Zhanhun slowly trying. Oh, okay, trying to move out, but perfect snipe of the observer.
The game state's starting to look pretty good for Hawk. He has a lot of Hydras out on the map, and he did scout that 12 o'clock, so he might threaten to kill that with all these Hydras here. And if he can kill that and hold this position at the same time, then Zhanhun's going to be in a lot of trouble.
Swarm of Hydras coming in.
Yeah, perfect. That nice reaction from Hawk. That was perfect. Wow.
Beautiful snipes.
Yeah, that was great army movement from Hawk, catching those reinforcements coming out of the base just in time. So now Zhanhun going to feel pressure to try and break this with all those Hydras kind of moving out of position. Not a whole lot of lurkers here, but we're still going to try and focus down these observers. There's still one left. Pretty big storm on the Hydras again. And it looks like Zhanhun is going to break through this position, but he's losing his 4th base in the meantime.
And in the same time, Hawk is taking an additional base. So overall, really good decisions. Nice macro. Even though finally the engagement didn't go that good for Hawk, I think he took a chunk of the army and denied the possibility for an additional expansion to Zhanhun, and that's amazing. Now he needs to defend.
Exactly, yeah. If he can defend here, he's going to be in a great position. That being said, Zhanhun has a pretty big army, got more Storm coming out as well. I was going to say he doesn't really have any Storm with his army currently, but with those 3 extra Templar, if Hawk can defend this, he's going to be in a great position, but this could be a pretty hard defense. He's actually really far down on army supply because he's got those extra 11 drones, so his army is a lot smaller than Zhanhun's. And we're actually just going to go for a counterattack. And how many times have you experienced this? I know you experience this all the time on the ladder. It's so annoying playing against Zerg players that do this, where every time you move out to attack, they're like, well, I'm going to counterattack you. Like, it's so irritating.
Yeah, it is. But that's the beauty of a Zerg, of the Zerg race, that, okay, it's very flexible. The army, in terms of limits, are relatively slow, but the perfect counterattack by Zhanhun, he's not taking any of it. He decides to kill the main of the Zerg player. But now the question is, how does the economy look like? Because we need to remember that there are 3 additional working bases for Hawk, and he can sunken everywhere.
Exactly.
If Zhanhun will run out, out of minerals. The game might be decided just right here, at this point.
Yeah, things getting pretty crazy. Hawk gonna lose his main base, he's gonna lose all of his tech, but like you said, he's got these extra bases that are at least mining. Zhanhun gonna take that 9 o'clock while this is going on. That being said, Zhanhun's army is huge, so Hawk may be able to defend, but how does he ever kill this army, right? It's gonna take such a long time before he's able to muster up an army that can push this back.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So just look at the limits. It's 140 to 60.
Mm-hmm. And only 19 drones per Hawk. He had a ton of drones in his main base that all got killed.
Yeah.
And also we're having to make all these sunkens, right, to try and stay alive. Zhanhun not even going to go for that 6 o'clock, which is where most of the defense is. Maybe we'll try for it a little bit here, but that's kind of what Hawk wants. He wants him to push up into this base. And there's no way Zhanhun's breaking that. That's crazy.
Oh, no. But this base is breakable. The 12 o'clock not.
Yeah, he's going to push into this space.
When I'm playing Protoss and I see things like that, I just auto move back, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I get like a PTSD seeing those kind of defended base. It's just, even if I limit, Protoss limit, I won't attack. Faster. Sooner I'll make carriers than attack that with that kind of defense with a ground army.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I'll see a position like that and think the same thing and be like, alright, fine, you can have it until you mine it out. Like, that's your base, I won't touch it. We'll play the rest of the game elsewhere.
Still, Hawk, I think it's just fantasy GG timing, having only the 6 o'clock doesn't look good for Hawk.
Yeah, he knows that Zhanhun wasn't really mining, so he was just hoping to maybe kind of dwindle this army down, but not going to be able to. GG is going to be called. Zhanhun going to take the 2-0 over Hawk.